Today's video is going to be an introduction to Vitalist philosophy with the addition of my own personal extensions on it. I'll encapsulate the three pillars of Vitalism by reviewing them in a general and surface level scope. More in-depth videos of these pillars of Vitalism will be made for this channel later. This video isn't so much to explain to you deeply about Vitalism, as it is to give you the general concept and idea of it. With that, let's continue. Vitalism is the philosophical position that there is a distinguishing component or essence that life possesses that ultimately separates it from the non-living. Many philosophers over the years, like Aristotle, Paracelsus, Henry Bergson, and more, have contributed ideas like the anima, entelechy, vital force, etheric body, and elan vital. These are the different names given to this essence that not only gives all life this unique quality of being expressive, alive, and capable of things like love, arousal, hate, suffering, etc., but is also the coding behind the formatting and positioning of the organisms and even the cosmos and other sects of vitalism. What should ultimately be taken away here is that vitalists in the classical sense perceive organisms and perhaps the cosmos is governed by an immaterial centropic force. However, what I am going to present here for you is a more robust and fully fleshed out philosophical position on vitalism, and we will be splitting up vitalism into three parts to do this. The first branch of vitalism is what we can call ontological vitalism. This will be a mostly classical explanation of the vitalist doctrine with some revisions of my own. The second branch of vitalism is what we'll call existentialist vitalism. In this branch, we go more into phenomenology and interpreting existence and purpose through a vitalist lens. And the last branch will be operational vitalism. Here, I'll explain to you what vitalism looks like in practice as an individual and a society. Now, in classical vitalism, there is the understanding of a separate entity or state of being that ensouls all living entities, which ultimately distinguishes the living from the non-living. This essence was reasoned to exist because biological mechanisms alone could not explain the emergence of subjective experience nor the complexity of organisms. In ontological vitalism, the subject matter is taken more into its depths. The nature of the spirit in functional terms is a non-tangible information scalar field that archives and processes experiential memory while then using that informational memory to organize potential into actuality. However, the spirit is more simply put as the necessary part for an entity to possess, process, and store unique experiences. It can be intuitively seen as a personal library itself that contains all past experiences that are encoded with information, memories, sensations, and patterns. Credit belongs to this vital essence for structuring all complexity, especially as it pertains to organisms. It's only because of the morphogenetic property of this essence, which is its ability to accumulate patterns and encode more complex structure over a greater area of chaos or potential as it develops, that we as the host of life are given the grace to feel sorrow, jubilation, pride, arousal, and the finer tastes of existence. To understand ontological vitalism, you first must understand the meaning of the word syntropy. Syntropy is the opposite of entropy. Whereas entropy progresses towards the deterioration of complexity and the equilibrium of energy, syntropy, on the other hand, progresses towards the increasing complexity and concentrated energy. This makes syntropy the base cause of the formation of stars, galaxies, organisms, and molecules. It's crucial you keep this force in mind because it's the foundation of ontological vitalism. When we observe the cosmos at large, we see a constant tug of war between this centropic force and entropic force. And while classical vitalists acknowledge the role of syntropy as a force, they rarely comment on its play in the grander cosmic drama that we all participate in. It's imperative that we all understand that what this vitalist essence uses as its Excalibur in this war against the cold and erosive winter is the divine centropic force, because it is only then that you will understand how the ontological, essential, and operational pillars of vitalism intersect. The more the spirit experiences and solves, the greater it evolves as its centropic abilities are honed through trial and error. These developments aren't just localized to the individual spirit. The experiences of the individual spirit are shared with the collective. This is possible because the spirit is an offshoot of a greater whole that is self-similar to the individual spirits. The centropic force then develops ubiquitously and is refined by the spirit's journey throughout infinity, thereby making every living spirit a player in this grand battle one way or another. This understanding of what we are leaves us with a direction for what life is, how it should be lived, and what we should build towards, which brings us to the next two pillars of vitalism. Life has no purpose. If that statement makes you immediately feel depressed, scared, or nihilistic, I encourage you to really think deeply about my statement and what it entails, because on deeper inspection you understand that it's not as you may think. In existential vitalism, life has meaning, but it has no purpose because life is not a machine, life is not a mechanism, and life is not tailored for a specific destination. Such a thought process has only been brought up as a serious proposition of thought by modern thinkers as they've mingled in a world that has reduced many facets of life to mechanism. A form of thinking that has also been propagated by socioeconomic culture that also reduces humans to what they can do and not what they are, and thus implicitly confines us to the status of machines. A purpose is for artificial intelligence and other types of fancy clocks. As for organic intelligence, we do not run off purpose, we run on passions. Life should be seen as possessing magnetism and categories of experience that our spirits are attracted to and compelled by. We are not looking for an end destination as much as we are looking for a trajectory of experience that enriches our spirit and leaves us feeling satiated. Life doesn't have an end, and so we should not be looking for one. When a person stumbles upon what they call their purpose, what they actually mean is that they've temporarily found a specific mode of expression that their spirit craves. And unlike a purpose, our passions, our cravings, and our trajectory can go through changes. Such is the nature of a spirit who is free to play however they wish on this playground of life. The arts, music, engineering, combat, sex, companionship, and so on are all experiences that our spirits compel us to chase for the sake of performing their purpose of developing themselves throughout lifetimes, so that they may learn more information to then be capable of organizing vessels of higher complexity, and thus producing more enriched experiences that aid the development of the centropic force. If the spirit is starved of this energy, the host will fall into nihilism, lethargia, and irritability. Unfortunately, the conditions of the world have duped us into conflating the standards of the machine with those of the animal, and this is in large part because of the side effects of capitalism, but that's for another video. We are here to play in this cosmos, express all manners of the vital gift, and go on to the next experience. The human species is, however, special and distinct, and though we, like all other living things, are here as it serves the ultimate centropic force in the larger battle against the entropic force, humans specifically, being at the frontier of this complexity, are given a mandate to take an active and greater role in this battle. This is not really a purpose, but rather a divine incentive. And with that, we can move to the final pillar of vitalism. Operational vitalism takes the foundational vitalist pillars and puts them into action. It is the civilizational application of vitalist philosophy. A civilization that inherently perceives everything as alive, dynamic, and in opposition to death will take the initiative to reflect those values in its art, architecture, and institutions. This entails abandoning brutalist and sterile aesthetics, rejecting and moving beyond the glorification of postmodernist art, and re-envisioning our institutions to prioritize engagement, holism, and community. Furthermore, such a society would inherently support not only preserving ecosystems and our environment, but also making our planet more robust for the flourishing of life, bringing back previously extinct ecosystems and species through bioengineering and gene splicing technology. This would be our greatest achievement, resurrecting lost life forms that death thought to have claimed. The mandate is given to us by the fact that we are a significant manifestation of the centropic force, and therefore possess the capacity to consciously align with and enact its direction. This is not a command in a strict sense, nor does failure to dedicate oneself entirely to syntropy constitute moral failing. However, it remains within the best interests of the collective to do so. Evil is, however, treated as an ontological reality within operational vitalism, insofar as anything that advances sterility and senseless death stands in violent opposition to the nature we possess intrinsically. Thus, while it may be morally neutral not to directly engage with this entropic mandate, it becomes morally depraved to practice doctrines, cultures, or technologies that actively work against it. Ultimately, operational vitalism is devoted to the expansion and expression of life through cultural, technological, and spiritual means. It seeks to shape civilization into a holistic organicism, one that does not sacrifice quality or sentiment for the sake of efficiency, because it is within those sentiments that life becomes worth living, not merely doing. You, as a human, are bestowed with anti-entropy capabilities from the gods. Capabilities that allow you to herd animals, forge tools, and construct systems capable of both cultivating and extinguishing life, as well as psychic abilities that enable you to interface more deeply with the spirits of others, which is perhaps our greatest yet most abandoned gift. And so, in this final pillar of vitalism, we turn inward upon ourselves, full of spirit, passion, and syntropy, and then outward toward a cold and seemingly inert universe, making a cosmic choice to breathe the vital essence into it through beauty, art, technology, and aspiration. We humans are the heralds of life, the gardeners of syntropy, and the beacons of vitality. With us comes the fire of the vital essence. That will be it for the introduction to vitalism on this channel. Again, this was a very general and basic overview of the 3 pillars of vitalism, and I will go into more depth in later videos. Until then, I'm Metanot, and I thank you all for watching.